Yo, it's Joe. What's up, everybody? We are back again with another video, and today we're gonna go over the stinkers, the dog shit, the bad movies, the top 10 bad movies of 2019. We're gonna start from 10 and work our way all the way to number one, the biggest stinker of them all. And this year it was kind of hard because there was a lot of very good movies, but at the same time there were not as many bad ones. It was like I feel like some of these movies I'm picking on, I didn't enjoy the time that I had at the theater with any of these movies. I really didn't. But I felt like some of them, in any other year, they probably wouldn't. Maybe, especially like the first couple ones, probably wouldn't have been on an awful list in any other year because usually we get a lot of bad movies. But this year, I'm actually happy we didn't. You guys can always check out my best movies of 2019. I already uploaded that video, and I would like to know what you guys were as well. And after this video, you could always let me know what your top 10 stinkers are of the year. But let's go ahead and jump right into the list. Number 10, we have The Kitchen. Now, I felt like this had some potential, but it just falls flat. It's bland. I thought nobody in this movie really gives a good performance. It kind of felt like they were just going through the motions. Some of them even there for just like a paycheck. I don't really like to say that about actors and actresses, but you really feel it here, and I got to call them out when I see it. But I felt like the story was very clunky, and it just was not a very good made film. And that's why number 10 is The Kitchen. I won't talk too much about these films. I'll just give a little rundown. I reviewed all these films, by the way, and you can go ahead and check those out on my page. But number 9, it's got to be Dark Phoenix. Wasted potential. Twice we've gotten a bad Phoenix story, and it's from the same guy, Simon Kinberg. It's just so much potential here. And with the Disney buying Fox and the reshoots and everything like that, this movie was just destined to be bad. Because they had to reshoot the whole ending because it was very similar to Captain Marvel, and Disney probably didn't like that, seeing how, you know, they're going to buy this and they didn't want that. And Captain Marvel wasn't as secure of a hit as they would probably want it to be. But yeah, I felt like it was very forced. It got to the point where it's kind of ridiculous that Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy are still like super young, and they look like they're maybe like 10 years older than the people who are supposed to be like 50 years younger than them. And it got ridiculous. I thought Jessica Chastain was awful as the villain in this movie. Just the plot was awful. What always kills me is there's so many X-Men out there. Hundreds, and you make up new X-Men. That's just lazy to me, and it's stupid, and it's generic. You have so many you could have put in this movie, and then make up new ones with the Dreadhead guy or whatever he was. And I thought maybe one good piece of this film was Magneto. He was pretty good, but it's just hard for people to give great performances when they just don't have a lot to work with, and there's just bad all around them. So we've seen these characters be given good material and make phenomenal movies like Days of Future Past and First Class. But it was just an awful send-off for these characters. Then we'll probably never see Michael Fassbender or James McAvoy play these characters again. And it's just very unfortunate because they were very good in, you know, the first couple movies, but it just got worse as time progressed, and this was the all-time low, I believe, besides X-Men Origins maybe, for the X-Men franchise. Number 8, we have Angel Has Fallen. Just a generic action movie. They keep making these sequels because it's on a low budget. Gerard Butler keeps coming back. Morgan Freeman signs on the dotted line to almost everything. He likes making movies, which I commend the guys for. You know, they like the material, so they keep coming back for it. I don't think these guys are doing it for a paycheck. I really don't, because they seem like they care. Gerard Butler's giving it everything he's got. It's just a very generic story. It's a boring story. It's one of those stories that it should only be one movie and that's it. There's no way this movie should have gotten multiple sequels, and we haven't got a sequel to Man of Steel or you know, stuff like that. It's ridiculous. It really, really is. But it makes just enough money to get a sequel, and we'll probably get another one. Number 7, we have Hellboy. I was rooting for David Harbour. I really, really was. You know, I thought this had a lot of potential, but I felt like maybe it couldn't really get its mood down. It wanted to be a comedy. It wanted to be a very dark, gritty, R-rated movie. It wanted to be true to Hellboy yet bring some original stuff. And it did bring some original things, and it did bring some new light to the lore of Hellboy. But it's just a not so great villain. Or I know the villain, like I think that Hellboy is one of the harder heroes to bring to the big screen, because you have to really decide what you're going to go for. You're going to go for the hardcore fans and go all the way in, go all the way to the R rating, or are you going to try to make it a family film? And I think this film never was able to understand which way it wanted to go. It kind of just wanted to do both. And I thought David Harbour was okay. I really did. He's no Ron Perlman, but I thought he was okay as Hellboy. They seem very similar, actually, which may have been a problem because a lot of people thought maybe he was copying Ron Perlman because Perlman was so perfect as Hellboy. This franchise needs Guillermo del Toro back, and we're not able to ever get that third movie. And it's a real shame because there probably won't be a Hellboy movie for, another 10, 20 years. And then they'll dust it off and try to make another one. That'll probably be pretty bad. So I felt like the movie just, it really didn't know what it wanted to be, and it turned out to be a dumpster fire instead. So, number 6, we have 47 Meters Uncaged. Another movie that I'm like, why the hell did they get a sequel? The first one was okay. A little anxiety there, a little build-up. So you're like, okay. This one, there's like blind sharks, and they're in like some underground temple, and the big draw of it is that it's got Sylvester Stallone and Jamie Foxx's kids in it. And they're not bad, I guess, for their first movies and stuff, but it's not a good film. It really isn't. And the budget's a little bit higher, so they try to do some better things, and it's just not good. It really, really isn't. And I think it's getting to the point, and this is sad because I never thought I would say this, because we might have to take a break from shark movies for a while because they're just getting ridiculous. Sharknado knows that it's ridiculous. Jaws is one of the best movies of all time, but you just got to get a little more original with this. These water sea movies where there's like, there's a shark and it can do all these crazy things and survive all this crap, and people are out, able to outmaneuver it in its own element, and it's just not working anymore. And I think we probably need to take a break from movies like this, and it'll probably get a sequel. Who knows? But my number 5 is The Intruder. It's just a B movie. It really, really is. It's one of those movies, and I've talked about this before. Michael Ealy and Megan Good, they've kind of found it where they're just like, we'll make these movies where it's got some crazy guy in it, or it's something that happens to a couple or something like that. Someone tries to track them down and kill them, and movie makes, I don't know, it becomes a date night movie, so it makes a decent amount of money, and there's a PG-13 type sex scene in it, and then they make another one and just recycle it and do it again. And they're just really boring, and they don't really do anything for me. And I thought this one was so cheesy and corny, and dialogue was awful, and just oh man, it was just so bad. And some people like these movies, and it really drives me crazy because I'm like, are you guys really watching the movie, or are you just trying to watch it to get laid? I really don't know what's going on, what the thought process is to pay money to see this movie, unless I guess you're a crazy person who wants to review movies like me. But number 4, we have The Curse of La Llorona. It's just it's hard making good horror movies, apparently, and we get a lot of stinkers. Now, these are some of the easiest movies to put on this list are bad horror movies, because we get a ton of them throughout the year. Some of them I'll even forget. They're that bad that I just will forget, and they won't make the list. I'm sure there's movies that are really, really bad that I will not make this list, and people are like, how did that not come on the list? Maybe I just didn't even see it. I just knew it was going to be that bad. Who knows? But The Curse of La Llorona, it's supposed to be like a true thing of, where the weeping woman, and it had a lot of potential. They could have done a lot of things with it, but no, they just went for dull jump scares and a shitty plot, and it's just not very good. It really, really isn't. It's like a Conjuring light. It really is. They try really hard to make it really spooky and everything like that, but it's so predictable when you're going to get those jump scares, and it's just awful timing, awful dialogue. It's very dark. So like a lot of the stuff, like you're like, wait, I guess that may have been intentional to draw you in to scare you, but to me, I just felt like it was bad filmmaking because it's very, very dark. You can't really make out what's really going on sometimes. And it's just not a good film. But number 3, we have Cats. You know, like I said, I did a review for Cats, and I honestly felt like I was on drugs. I really did. I was like, man, it's a little weird. It's kind of creepy, and like and I've seen people make a horror trailer for Cats where they make the Us music. I got 5 on it, and it's the cat trailer, and it's hilarious because it's so perfect. This movie, its tones are all over the place. Performances are not great. It'll never be something that's acceptable seeing a human's face on a cat body or roaches or mice or any of that stuff. It's just weird. And like I said, I did not watch the play of Cats, so maybe I'm missing something here. But it's just it seems like a very bad story, and it's not made to be adapted maybe because the story's just, and I know they had to add a lot to make it as long as a feature film, but like, man, it sucks. It really does. The story's terrible. And I know but my boy, he tried to save the movie, but he couldn't do it. It was just too much for him to lift. And I feel bad for the guy. You can tell he has a real passion for this type of material, but it's just really, really bad. This is probably one of the biggest box office bombs of the year as well, because a lot of people did not want to see this movie. And yeah, the cat technology looks a little bit better than it does in the trailers, but that's not saying nothing. It's just not good. It just really isn't. Even the singing, it's got some of the best singers like Taylor Swift and Jennifer Hudson, but they just can't really make this movie not awful. And it's just, I don't know, it's just one of those movies where no matter what, it's just not going to be, no matter how much tinkering you really do to it. Because I think even if they tinkered the story a little bit, it would have been still a really, really bad film. Just because it's really hard to adjust to seeing a human and a cat like bond. They're like mixed together. It's like a hybrid type thing. And to see that, like, and what's funny is because Jeremy Jahns pointed out that like it kind of looks like they're hovering because the way they did the technology, it looks like the cats are never hitting the floor. Very true. Some of the stuff just looks weird. How they'll have it where the objects are super huge, then the objects are the same size. It's like they really couldn't make up their mind on what they really wanted to do with this film, and it just turned out to be awful. But number 2, we have The Countdown. Now, we get generic films like this all the time. There's apps and try to modernize it and make it cool, and 13, 14-year-olds to go check this movie out, and they're not even really watching the movie. They're just there hanging out with their friends, or maybe you're a crazy person like me who goes to see movies all the time. But it's not a very good film. Bad dialogue, bad direction. Small things like the actors and actresses, they look different in different scenes, like as if like they were shot 3 weeks apart and they maybe got a haircut or changed something about them. Just small stuff like that you can notice. Maybe I'm the only one that notices stuff like that, but it's bad. It's bad movie making. It really, really is. And I know you got to get your start somewhere, and I know that's probably what happened with a lot of these people. Same thing with 47 Meters and The Curse of La Llorona and The Intruder, stuff like that. Movies like that, that's just where you get your start. It really, really is. And you got to take the good with the bad. And this is all bad. There's no good here. Maybe the fact that you get a paycheck for it, and the fact that maybe somebody will see something in you and put you in something different. That's the only good out of this movie, because the movie damn sure isn't good. I thought it was very stupid. Thought them trying to add comedy to this movie just falls completely flat and is not funny at all. And it's a terrible film. But number 1 is possibly one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. It really, 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 really is this bad. And it's hard to see someone who at one point was in such high regards fall so far. It really, really is. And the fact that the guy did a press tour for a movie like this he's got balls. He really, really does. And my number 1 is, you know what? Before I get into that, I'm going to tease you guys a little bit more and keep you guys wanting more. But I really want to know what you guys' lists are and what your thoughts are on these movies that I named in my top 10. And I also want to know what your top 10 is. And I just want to hear some good and bad experiences you guys had at the movie theater this year down in the comment section below. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the number one. The number one is The Fanatic. John Travolta is so bad in this movie, and it's directed by Limp Bizkit, which is just, it's hilarious. And it's just such an awful film. And you know from the first time this guy speaks how shitty this film's going to be. I think his first line is something like, "Can't talk much, I gotta poo." And I was like, oh, yep, this is going to be awful. And it was very, 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 very hard to not laugh, not feel bad for John Travolta, not feel upset that I spent my time that I can't really get back to see this film. But it was my own fault because I heard it was bad and I was like, I got to check it. It can't be that bad. It's awful. It really, really is. And I thought Gotti was bad for John Travolta. I think this movie's worse than that. And that's saying something. I think Gotti's like a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. No one liked it. It's just, this film is just so fucking bad. And excuse my language, but that's just the only way I can really put it. It's so bad. It's really, really bad. The dialogue, how they have it where he's like, may have a mental disability. It seems almost like he's making fun of it. Just none of the characters are believable. John Travolta, I guess he dove into the character a little bit too much here because it's so bad. It's so corny. It's so cringy. It's just an awful film. Just thinking about it just makes me a little angry, honestly, that I watched this movie all the way through. And it's got the guy from the Stand video, the Eminem video. He's in it. And that's the guy who John Travolta is like stalking. And he's like just starstruck by, and he like breaks into this guy's house. He kills people, and it's all like played for like almost like a gag, almost like he's like, "Oh, I didn't mean to kill him." It's just like, it's so bad. It really, really is. Him like taking pictures and stuff, and you just find out there's no way that he wouldn't have not got caught, and then he does certain things and he's hurt, and you're like, wait a minute, like how is he? It's awful. It really, really is. There's no bright spot besides the movie ending. It really, really is that bad. It's probably the top 10, probably even it's top 5 worst movies I've ever seen. I'd have to sit down and think about it where it ranks in my top 5, but it's definitely the shittiest movie I've seen this year. By far. All these movies I would watch over and over again before I had to watch that movie again. I would watch all these movies combined as many times as you like before I'd watch this movie again. It really, really was that bad. And if you guys haven't seen it, please save yourself the time. Heed my warning. Heed Chris Stuckman's warning. It's not worth it. It's awful. It really, really is. Just take our word for it. But that is my list. So my number 10 was The Kitchen. My number 9 was Dark Phoenix. My number 8 was Angel Has Fallen. My number 7 was Hellboy. My number 6 was 47 Meters Uncaged. My number 5 was The Intruder. My number 4 was The Curse of La Llorona. My number 3 was Cats. My number 2 was The Countdown. And my number 1 was The Fanatic. And that is my list, guys. Like I said, I want to know what your list is. Just put it down in the comment section below. Let me know about some awful movies you saw this year. And if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and share. More videos to come. Until next time, peace. Yo, it's Joe. If you enjoyed my content, please like, subscribe, and share, and follow me on my various social media pages. Thank you.